competitively displaced. And it's happening all the time with many industries. The most classic of one was probably the horse and carriage industry. They all went out of business because of the car. There's no difference, again, in principle, between importing something that's cheaper from a country that knows how to do it cheaper, than someone that just invents a better way of doing something. There's no difference. So if you want to stop imports because you want to protect those people, you might as well stop technological advancements. It's the same thing.
Okay, Gilad, I have a question from Shlomo. What is your opinion on decentralized currencies, such as the Bitcoin?
Yeah. It would have been a lot easier if I was, running for the Republican Party, because when you're in the U.S., the answer is extremely clear. If you're in the U.S., your answer is that you need to This is a very, very time-consuming subject to speak about. But basically, just to give you the bottom line, basically, I would be, if I was an American politician, I would be for abolishing the Fed. I would be for completely privatizing the currency business or the currency market. I would call for, competing private currencies. I would think that eventually gold and silver would win the day, as they have for the last 2,000 years, for good reasons. And I would say that interest rates should be determined by the free market. In Israel, it's more complicated. So what I would say in Israel, certainly, is that I'm against the Bank of Israel printing shekels and buying US dollars. I'm against the Bank of Israel, or against the state in general, trying to limit the usage of cash, which is a scary trend that is intensifying across the world. I think that people should be able to use cash as much as they want. And I would certainly also make the usage of Bitcoin, if that was the question maybe, completely legal and legit. I myself have some Bitcoin. So.
Okay, thank you. Meirav from the Golan says that big monopolies dominate the food wholesale market and make a lot of money, keeping the prices high, and the producers and farmers cannot make ends meet. How can the monopolies be broken up to allow more local competition to lower the prices? Yeah,
so look, I mean, Israel is not such a unique place. I'm trying to find a way to phrase it. But look, you obviously have some global companies that have a large market share, or relatively large market share, in the food industry. Unilever, Danone, Heinz, Kruger, Mondelez, and I'm probably forgetting 10 others. But the fact is that prices in other countries, even small countries, are a lot lower than in Israel. So Israel will never be, the prices here will never be as low as they are in the US, for example, because geographically we're kind of secluded, right? If we want to import stuff, it has to come by planes or by ships, but from kind of far away. We don't have the advantage of Belgium that resides, near Holland and can import stuff a lot cheaper than we can. The market here is smaller than some other markets, so scale is such that the prices aren't going to be as low as in other places. But there's certainly no reason why prices should be as high as they are now. Now, I spoke earlier about the farmers market or the agriculture market in Israel, and when I said about opening it up to competition from to imports, I want to give a more complete answer, because there's a huge amount of complaints among farmers in Israel that the market is managed by the state, which means that all of the retail, all of the distribution, or big parts of the distribution are being controlled and managed and supervised by the state. And for example, as a farmer, you need to sell your goods through a dedicated certified distributor, and that's creating, I guess, almost monopolistic power in the hands of distributors, which is obviously creating a lot of losses to farmers. So part of what I'm suggesting is, of course, not only open the Israeli market to imports, but completely remove any type of state management, state supervision, state, involvement, open the market completely. So any farmer can grow whatever he or she wants, can sell to whoever they want, buy their, using their own cars if they want to. Certainly we need to get rid of the regulation that says that you can't transport more than 8 kilos of honey in your car. I'm about completely opening up the market. I'll give you an example. And New Zealand was battling with the same issue, I think 20 years ago, or more than that. Their agricultural market was also completely protected. And then they had some kind of an economic meltdown. The state could no longer afford subsidies to farmers. People were doing pretty badly economically. So New Zealand opened up the New Zealandic market to competition, for food imports. There was a huge outcry from the side of farmers who were, justifyingly afraid of losing their livelihoods. And after a while, and certainly now, the agriculture market or the agriculture sector in New Zealand is thriving like never before, to the point where when a few years ago, it was offered to reimpose some limitations on the agriculture market in New Zealand, there was a huge outcry from farmers that didn't want that to happen because they're doing so well. And I think also in Israel, you have a lot of islands in excellence, not only in technology, but also in agriculture. So I think rather than, freeing up the market, or rather than now destroying the market in Israel for agriculture, I think actually for the first time, the really innovative, better farmers are finally going to be able to enjoy the fruits of their labor. So I think it's a win-win actually for everyone. Well, almost for everyone.
Okay, I'm going to ask Sammy to take the same next question.
Hi, Gilad.
Hi.
My question is, the prices of automobiles in Israel are very, very high, specifically because of the taxes.
Yeah.
Is there some plan by Zehut to do something and how to lower those taxes?
Yeah, so let me just explain the issue to people that might not be familiar with the market in Israel. I'm trying to think of an example. Let me think. Yeah, okay. So if you in the US want to buy yourself a Beamer, and a good one, you would pay something like $35,000 or $40,000. Am I right? Right? Even if you buy a nice Cadillac, one of those CTSs, you buy something like $30,000. For $30,000 in Israel, you get, let's see, what do you get?
Be careful, be careful.
An I-20.
You get something that isn't great. Let me put it differently so I don't insult anyone. The price of a Beamer in Israel would be something like $100,000. And the reason is that the state slaps about 80% tax on buying new cars in Israel. And of course, I'm for abolishing, completely getting rid of this tax. The only problem is that it's completely impossible. Because this tax is so high, and people do buy cars in Israel, although it's almost like getting a mortgage in the US, I guess. It constitutes a big part of the income of government, of the total tax income. So if you actually want to get rid of those taxes, or even if you want to cut them substantially, you need to cut the budget. Now, cutting the budget is a huge boon to the economy, I think. It's going to be fantastic for Israelis because we can finally bring down taxes in general, not only car taxes or sales tax, but also the income tax. But to do that, you need to have a lot of political power. Just as an example, over the last 5, 6, 7 years or something like that, the size of the budget went up every year on average by about 5%. Don't catch me on the number, I might be off a little bit, but about 5%. So what I said in my own mini agenda in Zehut is that my ambition is to simply keep the budget stable, zero growth, flat. And I'm telling you, that by itself is going to be like, it's going to be bloody just to get that small thing happen. So cutting the budget to allow for cutting sales tax on cars, that's something that we can do only if we become truly politically powerful.
Okay, I think we're going to go with the last question from Lisa. She said, banking is a big subject, as you said, but how can we get more competition in the banking industry?
Fine. So just, you know, to make the point, the last bank in Israel, the last new bank in Israel was founded in 1964. How many years is that ago? 70? Oh, whatever. Many years ago. No, I'm exaggerating.
54.
Yeah, 54. Okay. So 54 years ago was the last new bank that was founded in Israel. The regulators in Israel decided that they prefer stability, and I have other words to describe that, but I'll refrain from using them. So they prefer stability over competition. So the only way to allow for new banks or new financial institutions in Israel in general to be set up, you need to go to war with the Bank of Israel, because they're the ones that are supervising the financial sector. And I think that's doable, and I think that's desirable. I think we need to do that. For example, in the UK, again, I'm using them as an example, after 2009, they decided that the best way to protect the system is rather than have several banks that are too big to fall, rather they decided to encourage competition, encourage the establishment of some small banks, so that the system in general is more free and more balanced. And I think that's what we need to do in Israel. We need to allow for the establishment of more banks. We need to relax regulations in the financial sector. To tell you that's the #1 issue on the agenda, I'm not sure. I think the #1 issues, or the most important issues, are regulations in general and free trade. But yeah, I definitely think we need more banks in Israel and less regulations also in the financial sector.
Fantastic. Let me ask you, in the next 3 minutes, make believe that someone listened only to the next 3 minutes of the webinar and didn't hear anything you had to say before. Could you encapsulate what it is that's on your personal agenda when you become the finance minister or become a member of the Knesset for Zehut? What is it that we need to do, and how are we going to do it?
I think that's very easy. If you look at countries across the world and over the last 100 or even 200 years, there are very simple rules. There's never been a single country that chose to free up the economy and that didn't prosper in the long term. And there's never been a country that chose to have a less free economy, a more supervised economy, a more state-managed economy, and prosper. Never. There isn't a single example that shows you that free economy doesn't work. There isn't a single example that shows you that that economies that are more centrally planned do work. Not a single example. So just on this not very simplistic, but very obvious, and I think iron-proof argument, I would say that what we need in Israel to do is to free up the economy. And if you look at why the Israeli economy isn't free, there are 2 or 3 very specific issues that destroy our economy, destroy our chances to prosper. And those are that the trade isn't free, that regulations is extremely burdensome, and that the government simply does too much in the economy overall. So my suggestion, as someone who thinks that Israel can do a lot better than it does right now. Just think about the entrepreneurial spirit in Israel. Just think how smart Israelis are. What we need to do is free them up. And the way to do that is to take the stuff in Israel that is being controlled by government and stop and basically freeing it up from the hands of government, which is trade and regulations and the management of the economy overall. It's very simple. If you do that, Israel is sure to prosper. There's just no other way.
Thank you very, very much, Gilad Alper, economist. I hope everyone on the call has appreciated the wisdom that you shared with us. Very unconventional for those of us who've been living in this country for so long and have been trained to think differently. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you in the future at future webinars.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone.